okay, and they just, it was just a personal choice. But yeah, it was kind of shocking that he didn't really have any part of the run.
And I suppose the upside of that is that he may not have had a hard race, so they could back him up Super Saturday and try and earn a berth on the grass. Although, again, neither horse have proven to be particularly good on the turf so far, albeit from relatively few runs.
The flatter surface here might work for them. And that might be what it is. Maybe that's what jars them up a little bit when they go over the undulations in Europe, and that's why they like the all-weather. That sometimes works, that angle. But I think he'd be a live shot if he comes out of the race okay in the Jebel Hatta. I'll say that early.
And the turf here does have a kind of spring to it, which is certainly what the Polytrack does in the UK. So maybe they will consider it, considering the horse is here, and that run may have served the purpose, fitness-wise as well. Certainly with Mutasadir, who'd been off the track a good while, Dubai Warrior, since December. Just one last quick word on Quip. Is that him canned for you now?
Yeah,
he wasn't being far in the end.
He wasn't, and the thing is, he's doing that just on natural class. I think he's just had a ability to keep up with these horses. He's not able to put it together mentally. I think he was such an honest horse back in the States and really just ran well and ran hard. I think he ran one really terrible race, and that was over the sealed slop and Justify's Preakness Stakes. But other than that, he was very honest. Here, he's just been moderately to fairly terrible. So it's too bad for the horse, because you can tell that he was looking good today. He was looking very fit, and by Bupat's Seamar's, the assistant trainer, by his body language, he looked like he had a live shot walking down. So I feel bad for the connections. Hopefully he comes through.
Yeah, he's going to drop, you'd imagine, maybe to around about 100 here, so possibly a handicap option, should there be one available to him. Might just give him a bit of chance to get a bit of confidence. He's only 6 years old with 15 runs under the belt, so not exactly completely exposed just yet. The trophy presentation then for this Emirates Airline Al Maktoum Challenge Round 2 taking place. Adrien de Vries had an excellent season. He'll concede he's very much in the twilight of his career, but he's not far off having had as good a season as he had for maybe even 10 years over here. He's done phenomenally well, aided by, of course, Fawzi Nass being well forward as well, and he's now talking to Laura.
Okay. Yeah, great to catch up with Adrien de Vries after that's a pretty massive win, because he could just sneak into the World Cup now.
Yes, this opens new doors for us. It was a good try. It was a brave try by Fawzi. Things didn't go right for him this season. First time when he ran too fresh. He was doing too much last time. Maybe he ran a bit flat last time, but it made us make this decision to go a little bit further with him, which was the right one after this win. And yes, hopefully we can get in on the big night.
Will you be advising Fawzi and the team to run before that, or would you be inclined to keep him fresh?
He likes to keep that bit of freshness in him. These are tough races, so we have to see how he comes out of this. He's a horse who quickly gets fresh again. He takes his races well, but today was a hard race, and we really have to see how he gets out of this and make a plan from there.
And how confident were you beforehand that he'd see it out? Because he showed so much pace last year.
It was just a question of the race going a good pace, but I was afraid what was going to happen. Miguel takes the pace out on the backside, and if this horse gets to a girth of a horse, he kind of gets a bit gassy. I needed to put some pressure on Miguel, because he was slowing it down a little bit too much for my liking. But I could fill him up again in the turn, and he kept going. Great result.
And it's a big couple of weeks for you, because you're off to Saudi next week?
Yeah, Saudi next week. Samsia is going to run there in the big one, so another exciting trip.
Yeah, it really is. Well done here.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks.
That's career win 129 here in the UAE for Adrien de Vries, a very notable one too with Salute the Soldier. He was the man on board at Lord Glitters when he made a winning reappearance in the Singspiel Stakes. Danny Tudhope will be reunited with him tonight, and he's the leading fancy for the last of our Group 2s this evening. There isn't much doubt as to who has produced the most eye-catching performance of the carnival so far, and it just so happened to be by one of the more popular horses in training, in the form of Lord Glitters.
Lord Glitters turns back, the clock goes to the front. Lord Glitters dashes away. Zakuski runs to second, but a great return to Meydan. Lord Glitters is going to turn them over in these things, Bill.
In a carnival that would always struggle to produce feel-good stories from the limited number of overseas travellers, Lord Glitters well and truly stepped up to the plate when hammering his field in the Singspiel Stakes. By no means a career best effort, but one that proved very much that there was plenty of life in the old boy yet. Perhaps labelling him as old is a bit harsh. He is only 8, and a relatively late bloomer, having spent the first couple of years in France before joining his current trainer David O'Mara. He certainly doesn't act like an 8-year-old, as his Dubai travelling companion Matt Ennis explains.
He's a lovely horse. On the track he can be a bit strong sometimes, but he's a very exuberant horse, but he loves what he does. So he's a pleasure to deal with, really.
You saw him before his reappearance. He was difficult to mount and very playful. Is that just his character?
Yeah, that's him all the time. Like, I don't think he's been much different. So as long as he keeps doing that, we know he's in good form.
Like so many before him, he quickly progressed for O'Mara, going from 102 rated handicapper to Group 1 winner, with several near misses in between. That Group 1 victory came in the 2019 Queen Anne, with Danny Tudhope the man doing the steering, and indeed on board for much of his UK career.
100 yards to go, and 3 of them in line in the Queen Anne. Lord Glitters in the centre, Peter Van the far side. Lord Glitters has just won the Queen Anne.
2020 wasn't altogether plain sailing. It wasn't for anyone. He missed Royal Ascot and only returned in July when a good fourth to Mahatha. Indeed, he spent much of 2020 coming up just short, including over further than the mile he was used to running over. But it is fair to say he did bump into some good horses along the way. Particularly unfortunate to run into a Daib at Ayr, for example.
Lord Glitters with a late surge down the outside. It's a Daib from Lord Glitters, and a Daib is going to win the Doonside Cup. A Daib is the winner from Lord Glitters.
Following another good run in Bahrain, he turned his attentions to Dubai, and he clearly loves the place. Primed once again to take on many of the same horses he has already beaten.
He came out the race very well, and he's nice and fresh, so all we can expect, hopefully we're expecting a good run.
Do you think the pace maybe on Thursday is not going to suit him as much? Are you a bit worried about that?
I think that's the main concern, but we beat them all the last day, so hopefully we can do it again.
So on to the Al Rashidia. And again, those watching from afar will be pinning their hopes on another bold show from Lord Glitters, in the hope that all that glitters once again secures gold.
Well, as we saw earlier on, Godolphin have rather dominated our Al Rashidia. They've won the last 4 renewals of it, and they've got a strong chance again today. Races are coming up next. It's actually established back in 2000. Sabin Straw has won it 7 times. Tonight's edition is a Group 2. It's been a Group 2 since 2011. And we have a pretty select lineup of horses that can actually win it, I think. One of those is Lord Glitter, so certainly Danny Tudhope returns to take the ride on this one. Blessing's one of the outsiders for David Simcock and Jim Crowley. Cap Francais likewise. Pat Cosgrove takes the ride for Ed Walker. Courthouse is quite interesting. Mikhail Barcelona rides for the Simon and Ed Crisford team. Dreamcastle, of course, won this race in 2019. Ridden by Frankie Dettori, who won it back in 2010 on Alexandros. Kinross goes for Rafe Beckett, Andrea Razzini and Zakuski. Charlie Appleby and William Buick seem pretty confident that they will get a lot closer to Lord Glitters this time.
Good to see so many European travellers having a go at this race. David O'Mara, David Simcock, Ed Walker, Rafe Beckett. I suppose we can throw Simon and Ed Crisford into that mix as well. Taking on the might of Godolphin in this Al Rashidia. Godolphin have won the last 4. Mike de Kock the previous 5, so it's a race that invariably stays in the UAE. That could all change tonight, though, particularly with that horse leading the parade down the tunnel, Lord Glitters, who bids to make it 2 from 2 for the carnival and joins Soft Whisper on becoming the only dual winner that we've had so far. A lot of people trying to get him beaten, I suppose, on tactics alone. But he's a Group 1 winner, so he can well have the class to overcome anything.
And he's a big, sturdy horse. I don't think the race is going to have taken too much out of him. He ran for a whole three and a half furlongs in the last race. And he ran those 3.5 furlongs a whole lot faster than everybody else. What he has to worry about in this race would be whether or not Zakuski can step up a couple lengths. And I'm not sure that this trip is perfect for Zakuski, to be honest. So we'll see.
We'll see, indeed. There's one or two of these that did head down to the start early the last time. Lord Glitters was one of them. I think I'm right in saying Kinross was another. Maybe Bless Him as well. So let's get a look at them while we can. I think on nights like this they should be made to parade, really, with no crowd or anything. But every trainer will want to take the sort of most precautions they can and get their horse down to the start in one piece. And certainly, if the rules permit, then why not do it? There is Danny Tudhope, who's been here in the UAE for 2 or 3 weeks now. Unfortunately, couldn't make this horse's reappearance due to family bereavement, but thankfully he's reunited tonight. Adre de Vries did a grand job that night. Was very patient aboard Lord Glitters, and 3 lengths is the official margin that Zakuski has to make up. He is 1.5 kilos better off, which probably neither here nor there, really. Maybe a length and a half, but it's a lot to ask. Bless him. I've always felt a horse with plenty of ability, as beating Lord North at Ascot in 2019 suggests. Last season didn't quite go for him, but he's a talented hold-up horse on his day.
Yeah, I think that he'll move forward off the run, which came after basically after a trial race at Newcastle. This one, he's the only one from the Singspiel who ran negative splits home, which is interesting to me. Like where his final furlong. His previous furlong was faster than the one before. He's the one that I think is going to surprise some people here.
Yeah, he's a strong traveller with a turn of foot. Indeed, Lord Glitters has gone down to the start quite early, and Kinross will soon join him. But this is Courthouse, who went to the Jebel Ali Mile for his UAE debut. Blew the start completely there and was never threatened. Quickly back on the turf. He's the one horse in here that doesn't hold collateral form lines almost. So, by virtue of that, for me, he's of some sort of interest. And he's been beaten by some good horses. Dubai Warrior, Matterhorn, Bangkok, Gronkowski going back. Wouldn't be surprised if he ran in the first 3 here.
It seems, he's quite honest. It's just he's never won on the grass, which kind of is a knock against him. And he's going against a Group 1 horse in Lord Glitters. He can get a piece of this for sure. And the Christopher Yard has proven that over and over and over the last few years. But he is biting off a little bit more than he can chew today.
His overall record as well suggests that he does have a little bit of a problem in winning. He's got 8 second placings to his name from 16 starts. Has won 3, to be fair to him, and 2 turf runs have both seen him finish second. There was Cap Francais, who's up against it ratings-wise. He's only got a mark of 100. He was one of many who were a little bit unlucky behind Bedouin's Story, although in his case, perhaps not as unlucky as some. This is Dream Castle. I felt he was the one that was going to be in the right position to strike. It's a case of whether he's good enough now. Age 7, he was again also behind Lord Glitters and Zakuski last time. Yeah,
of all the 5 horses that have come on from the Singspiel to this one, he ran the slowest final furlong. Which to me just says that he either needed the run desperately, which I don't think that's the case, or that he isn't quite the horse he used to be. He can come on for the run, he can run well with a perfect ride, but he's going against 2 very good horses in Zakuski and Lord Glitters today.
He did come on for his reappearance last year, so I'd maybe give him some sort of benefit of the doubt as to if he is going to improve fitness-wise. He's quite a stocky horse. He's by Frankel.
Frankie rides in as well.
Yeah, exactly. He could show a little bit more tonight. He's certainly going to need to reverse form, but reasons to expect him to do so, and he did win this race in 2019. This is Zakuski then, who certainly couldn't match the turn of foot late on for Lord Glitters, but we've probably already seen Star Safari improve 2 or 3 lengths for his reappearance. Not inconceivable this horse does the same. Yeah,
it wouldn't be a shock at all. He's just got so much class, and he hasn't done much wrong in his career. I do tend to think he's over a mile. He's a little more electric than he is over 9 furlongs. He can definitely prove me wrong today, but if Lord Glitters wasn't in there, he'd definitely be the pick.
Yeah, he may also sit a bit closer to the pace tonight. He came from midfield on that occasion. And as we keep saying, the trip-wise, it might be a steadily run affair. It probably will be. So his speed for shorter may come into play here. There is William Buick getting the leg up. One we didn't see who did go down to the start early was Kinross. He's clearly a bit of a tricky horse. He kind of went for the same gap as Lord Glitters in that Singspiel Stakes last time, but then didn't have the turn of foot to go with him after his momentum had been stalled slightly.
Yeah, he's also half his size. So when they were both going for the same gap, he definitely shied away quickly. And, going back and watching it, you see that he loses 2 or 3 lengths of momentum at that point, which cost him a couple placings. And he did finish up well. He finished up in a pair of 12s in the final two furlongs. So he's a good horse.
He is. He certainly is. There is Cat Francais going out. But let's find out a bit more about Courthouse with Laura talking to Ed Crisford.
Yeah, indeed. We were just saying he'd probably enjoy this more than Jebel Ali.
Yeah, I've no doubt he'll enjoy it more than Jebel Ali. I think we were entered in 2 races a couple of weeks back, the Jebel Ali Mile and one here on the turf, and we sort of thought, well, look, we'll go Jebel Ali. It looked a bit weaker, but in hindsight it was a bad decision because obviously they jumped like 6 furlong horses and he just had no idea what he was doing. But he he's come out of it great and he's fine, and hopefully a better run today. It's a very competitive race again. Obviously Lord Glitters is in here and he won so well the other day, and so Kusi. But I think he'll run a nice race.
I would imagine you gained a bit of fitness though from the Jebel Ali run.
Yeah, no, he hasn't run for a long time when he was at John's. And, we sort of brought him out here for the carnival. We knew, he hadn't run for a long time, so obviously he was always going to improve for the run. You couldn't really tell anything from that race, so that's the only thing. It was such a disaster. Dirt kicked in his face, and the white flag came up very quickly. But, he came out, as I said, he came out of it great, and he's been training really well. So, I'm hopefully from a nice run, and we'll see what happens.
Do you have a sort of target in mind for him later on?
No, I think we'll just see how he gets on today. He's a very solid horse. He always was at John's. I think a mile and a quarter would be better for him. And maybe even step him up and trip even further. But let's see how he gets on today, and we can make a plan from there.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck to the Crisfords, still in search of their first winner of the year and of the season here in UAE, I should say. And not too many people are expecting Courthouse to be the one, but he's a classy sort from the UK, and that run in Jebel Ali last time was most definitely a write-off. There is Lord Glitters in all his glory down at the start, and we shouldn't forget his other UAE run saw him finish 3rd behind Almond Eye, so he's a pretty good sort, but this is his victory last time. And they both get to the tearaway leader fairly quickly, and then Lord Glitters goes and sticks another 3 lengths on Zakuski late. Yeah,
the key here was he had nothing in his way and he has a superior turn of foot. And they couldn't keep up with him at this point. What I do love about him, though, if you go back into his form lines, when he gets good, he stays good for a bit. He doesn't have just one punch and then he drops out for a bit. And he's on the decline. He does have 2 or 3 runs in a row where he runs well. And he's big enough and strong enough of a horse where I think that he's going to be hardy enough to take that run.
I suppose a stick we could beat him with, and maybe we can only do it in hindsight, is that he ran pretty much straight off the plane on that occasion. He was in town, I think, on the Sunday maybe, raced on the Thursday. There is, I think, naturally some sort of drop-off from horses after that initial off-the-plane thing, if you don't see what I mean. But again, it's something you can't quantify until perhaps he's beaten after.
And if I'm going to knock him, I will say that he is not making nearly as good of an impression in the flesh as he did last time. He was on his toes. He was ready to run. Last time they took him out early because of that. I think he almost took out part of the gate, or part of the railing last time. He was, and he was sweating up just a little bit, but in a good way last time. He was just warm and revving. On the other side, you have Kinross, who, when he was briefly through here, he did look a lot better than last time.
He's a horse that's been highly tried by Kingman, who we expect now, their progeny of his, to get a little bit buzzy. Like I say, highly tried, run behind Pinatubo in a Group 1, was also in the Guineas. There's Bless Him. For a bunch of good horses in this group too. There are some pretty tricky sorts out there, aren't there? Plenty of hoods on show. And 2 or 3 have gone down to the start early, and it all comes back to the tactics and how things are going to be run. That maybe 1 or 2 of these are going to be a little bit rank in the race itself.
Yeah, quite possibly, judging by parade ring demeanour, as you say. The interesting thing is, what does William Buick do? Both him and Charlie are pretty confident. They actually sound very confident they're going to get a lot closer to Lord Glitters this time. They've both spoken about the 1.5 kilo pull at the weights. The horses, they think, improved. So do they just really try and... That's the thing. If you don't want to, if they go really fast, they set it up for Lord Glitters, don't they? And there's not very many in here. If they go slowly and it's tactical, that sees Lord Glitters at a disadvantage. So it's interesting from a tactics point of view. But yeah, you can kind of divide them into 2 teams: those with a chance and those without, really, can't you? Being brutal. Lord Glitters, Dreamcastle, Zakuski are the 3, aren't they? Against the others. I think Cap Francais looks fantastic. I'm delighted he's won the best standout, because often it doesn't go to the one that looks the best, in my opinion. And he's a nice, upwardly mobile handicapper, but it would be a surprise were he to win this, wouldn't it? So, yeah, not the strongest Rashidia we've ever had.
No, not in terms of...
We do have 2 Group 1 winners in it, which isn't too shabby.
Not too bad at all. Lord Glitters and Dreamcastle, of course. That pair, and Kinross, as we said, ran in at Guineas. David Sincock was very open and honest about Bless Him when he was on the winning line a few weeks ago, saying he was just trying to pick up as many checks as he could, and he's only got to beat 1 home to get 1 here.
Absolutely. You finish 6th, you get $3,260. That pays your training fees for a little while. Good on him, and saying we're grateful that the internationals have had a crack at this, because otherwise it'd be a pretty weak race. Although obviously Lord Glitters counts as international as well. But it's interesting, because a lot is going to depend on tempo and things like that.
It certainly is. There is Zakuski going forwards. Mikey, final selection.
I think Lord Glitters is squarely the horse to beat, but if you're looking for a solid each way, Bless Him.
Bless Him to finish in the first 2 for the each way, Laura.
Zakuski for me.
Zakuski, he's been very well supported to make it 3 on the night for Charlie Appleby. The early pace, where's it going to come from? Maybe Dreamcastle, Frankie Dettori, a tactical master. Don't expect Zakuski to be a million miles away, but the first 400 metres is going to be very interesting. Let's head over to Craig for the Al Rashidia.
25 have selected the first 4 winners, so 25 left in the online pick 6. Now Lord Glitters the last to come up. And they're right to go. They're set. And they're off and racing now. Lord Glitters will go back towards the toe with a Bless Him, firing away quickly. Cap Francais. Courthouse ridden forward as well. Over on the inside, Zakuski, the white cap. The blue cap at Dreamcastle outside of it. Next of all is Kinross as they settle down from the grey Lord Glitters. And back at the tail is Bless Him as they run their way down the back on just a moderate speed at this stage. And the front runner Courthouse led by just on a length to Cap Francais, the outside. Then Zakuski, Dreamcastle. Followed by Kinross, Lord Glitters, and Bless Him at the rear. 26.1 was the lead. Marching down the back of Meydan, and Courthouse shows the way for Macau Barcelona. A length and a quarter now the margin over Cap Francais for Pat Cosgrave. Over on the inside, Zakuski for William Buick, and Dettori has Dreamcastle up in 4th. They were followed by Kinross for Andre Zeni. Next of all then is Lord Glitters at Daniel Tudhope, and back at the tail is Bless Him for Jim Crowley. Turning down the side they come now. And Courthouse switching to the turf. Didn't like Tibalelli one little bit last time, did Courthouse. Shows the way out by a length and a quarter. Cap Francais in second. Zakuski travelling strongly over on the fence. Ahead of Dreamcastle. Then Lord Glitters, who improves on the inside of Kinross. And at the tail is Bless Him. Top of the straight, Courthouse shows the way. Cap Francais the first off the bit. Ridden up behind them, Zakuski trying to make its way between horses. Followed then by Dreamcastle. Now Kinross came to the outside. Lord Glitters needs to pick a passage between runners. Now begins to get through strongly. Courthouse gave a kick. Zakuski kicked past it now. Lord Glitters begins to run on, then Bless Him. It's Zakuski hitting the front over Courthouse, fighting hard. Lord Glitters won't be able to pick up Zakuski. Brilliant ride by Buick. A treble on the night, and Zakuski wins. Tight second, Lord Glitters or Courthouse, who run a cracking race over on the fence, followed then by Bless Him. Cap Francais, behind them was Kinross, just couldn't quite sprint when they sprinted, and back at the rear was Dreamcastle. Zakuski heeled up at the top of the straight by Buick, and he got that first run on Lord Glitters. Last time they were side by side at the 300 metres, but Lord Glitters had the momentum up, and by the time It got to Zakuski. Zakuski just couldn't kick with it. But with the run under his belt, lovely ride by Buick. Just stole that couple of lengths on Lord Glitters at the 200 metres mark and has held it at bay to win by about 3/4. Looks like Lord Glitters will probably get second ahead of Courthouse, who's run a very good race. And then bless him. Kinross loomed, but just couldn't go when the sprint went on at the end of the El Rashidia. So Zakuski, that's the winning treble on the program for William Buick, and also Charlie Appleby. Waiting for all the details to come up on the big board after race number 5.
Well, there were a few shouts from lads and lasses representing the European Raiders, but in truth that was in more than hope than expectation, because William Buick very much had Zakuski in the perfect place right throughout. Just the odd moment of concern maybe when he had to get a gap between Cap Francais and Courthouse. Once he did, he kind of wore down Courthouse more than quickened past him. Lord Glitters could never get to within a length, and just a stereotypically good William Buick ride around here at Meydan.
Yeah, it was just a perfect ride for the conditions and for the pace scenario, and he definitely proved me wrong as far as 9 furlongs go. He saw it out perfectly, and it's just whether or not we saw, Lord Glitters, we don't know whether or not we saw in his optimal performance in these conditions, and he'll definitely get a pace to run at, probably, maybe in the Jebel Hatta, and definitely in the Dubai Turf.
He's not lost anything in defeat, really, has he? I don't think Danny Tudhope would do anything different either. He's held him up as is his wont. They seem to have got racing a reasonable amount of distance out to be not really having any excuses for anything.
No,
really.
He just ran into a fitter version of Zakuski today and could not run him down.
The truth is, Laura, if these two horses were to meet in a Queen Anne, Lord Glitters would beat him hands down. It's just a different story over here, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, that's a different track and everything. That's over the straight mile. It was a really good performance, though, by Zakuski. I think it's just a great William Buick ride. There was one moment where he didn't look as if he's necessarily going to get the gaps, just a stride or so, and then it all panned out quite nicely for him. He got this trip, no problem. He won't want much further, I don't think, though.
No.
He doesn't need to in the immediate future.
And the steady pace would have helped on that score, wouldn't it? He was able to lay close to it, and the stamina wasn't really being tested come the finish. But you'd imagine they'll go to the Jebel Hatta. I think they'll have to get into the Dubai Turf. He was, 110 here. Probably not far off that rating, maybe 2 or 3 more pounds, but he's probably the sort of horse that Charlie identifies as not being good enough to win a Dubai Turf, so let's try and win the Jebel Hatta as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a gelding, so it doesn't really matter, apart from it's nice to win Group 1s, isn't it? I imagine. Never won one. But he's certainly a horse who there could just be a little bit more improvement to come. Obviously, this is Group 2. He'd already won a Group 2 in the Zabil Mile last year, but he's so lightly raced. That's now 4 from 8. And he impressed me when he won at Newmarket on heavy ground back in October, because I thought he showed a grittier side of him that I didn't know that he necessarily had. He really had to battle there on ground that I think he hated. So he's got conditions he likes here. He's got the fast ground, and I think if it had come to a bit of a tussle there, he might have just knuckled down and got it done. But I agree with you about it. Lost nothing in defeat is a bit of an overused phrase, but it does apply to Lord Glitters there. That was a fine effort, and I agree with a good pace in the Dubai Turf, with some more internationals in there, some Japanese horses. Perhaps it could be a different story again with a bigger field.
Well, even without his 1.5 kilo penalty, he might well have been. He might emerge the best horse at the weights anyway. Just waiting on the official distances. But what's 1.5 kilos? About £2?
£3, I think.
£3. £3 is a length and a half over this sort of trip. Maybe it was that sort of distance. So Lord Glitters confirming his status as being the genuine Group 1 horse here. Let's take it from the start. And at Courthouse, I suppose like we said, he was the new shooter, worth trying something different with him. He broke on terms, which helped, and Cap Francais was the other one that went forward that maybe we didn't expect to, but William Buick was probably quite happy that Courthouse did.
Yeah, and hats off to Mikhail. Rode a beautiful race on him. Typical perfect front-running ride where he saves as much as he can from Barcelona and Courthouse. I'm looking at, every time I watch Zakuski run, I just keep thinking I'm wondering why they don't try to send him overseas. I don't know, maybe it doesn't ship well in the fall, because I feel like he's the perfect horse for a Woodbine Mile or a Shadwell Turf Mile in the States. He would just be perfectly suited. He's agile. He's a perfect 8 to 9 furlong horse.
They probably would have done, but for the COVID, I guess, this year. And Australia would be another sort of off-limits jurisdiction at the moment. Just a quick point, our Official result there says Lord Glitters second, Courthouse third. Still waiting for official confirmation on the big screen that is indeed the case. There's still photo on there, so if you have backed well, I hope you've not backed Lord Glitters each way, but if you've backed Courthouse each way at the bigger price, then still hold your horses if he's finished second. But off the bend here, Courthouse has travelled well. William Buick's tracking him through, and this is where we maybe thought, could Pat Cosgrove hold him in? But Cap Francais, there just wasn't the horse under him, was there?
Yeah, there was definitely some strategic riding throughout this. It looked like Kinross got a little bit of revenge on Lord Glitters when it came to the trip at the 400. Last time it was Lord Glitters holding Kinross in. This time it was the other way around, but it didn't do Kinross any better.
Well, bless him, stayed on well. We mentioned that he could pick up a check, and it's a fairly significant one in the end. It does look as though Courthouse has grabbed second there, but we can't quite tell. The photo's still up. Michael Barcelona just gone past and quite pleased with the ride he's given that horse to finish either second or third. Quite right. And big improvement on what he showed at Jebel Ali, where clearly the dirt surface was all against him. Of those vanquished, the likes of Kinross, I mean, Cap Francais will have handicap options. Yeah. Do you think they might just call it a day with Kinross, take him home? Look at a handicap?
Yeah,
I don't know what there is, but
I think a mile maybe is his limit. I think they're asking maybe a little bit too much distance-wise for him here, especially against these types. I mean, if they choose to take him home, so be it. I don't know what else there is for him.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Running in the Jebel Hatter would be, well, sort of out of his grade on what we've seen so far this season. But he'll have paid the float, only finishing in the first six again here.
He'd have been perfect for the Zabeel Mile had it been this time of year like it usually is.
He's Courthouse really putting his head down and battling, as you can see in that shot. And Zakowski's, as he did last year, really, he's kind of made hard work of getting on top. It's almost as if he likes to have a horse to aim at. And maybe last time when the field became a bit strung out and Lord Glitters swept past him, there was just nothing for him to try and pick up.
He's one of those rare horses that has like two different moves to him. He has an immediate burst, and then he has a grind out.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's probably the Shammerdal, and Shammerdals, often have that immediate turn of foot, but they do love a fight.
That'd be very well suited to the Australian type of racing.
Yeah.
You can bang off the bend and then just grind it out. The official photo for second has gone the way of Courthouse. So Courthouse has finished second. Lord Glitters back in third. 3/4 of a length was the official winning margin. And just the nose, so as we said earlier, Lord Glitters with that 1.5 kilo penalty has emerged as the best horse at the weights, but only third best on the day, as Zakowski gives Charlie Appleby and William Buick a treble. It's almost as if Charlie Appleby's taken things a bit easy on all his competitors so far this year. He's not exactly flooded every race. But tonight, a real signal of intention as we build up to Super Saturday, which is what he will be doing with his string as well.
Yeah, and who knows who will surface then? There might be horses that are just...
Yeah, I think there probably will be the odd one, yeah.
I mean, he might have some very, very highly rated horses that are using Super Saturday as their place to run an okay race and the World Cup night to run their big race. We're hoping to see a horse maybe like, we don't know where Barney Roy is right now, but that would be a perfect scenario for him. But yeah, it's a big shocker here. Charlie Appleby is executing this very well.
The second horse on the night to probably improve about 3 lengths, if we're being brutally honest, from their reappearance, 2 or 3 lengths fitness-wise.
And I could see him, I don't see him progressing too much from this, but he's a solid 112 to 114 right now in my eyes.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do Charlie Appleby a disservice by saying fitness-wise. I'd probably label it more as sharpness, because a lot of these horses have been off the track for a while. They'll have travelled from Dubai back to England back to Dubai in sort of October time, and even the best horses, the best trainers will concede that their horses just need that run to get their mindset back on racing.
I remember the last couple of years, nearly any other year over the last decade, Zakowski would have won the last race because there wouldn't have been a horse like Lord Glitters in there. It's not very often that you have a bona fide European worldwide Group 1 horse come in and go into the Singspiel. So yeah, it's nice to see that competition here. He's going to have to earn it.
Well, he's certainly not had it his own way in this race. May have done a little bit earlier with Secret Protector and to a lesser extent Star Safari, but Zakuski's really had to battle for this Al Rashidir, sponsored by Emirates.com. The trophy presentation there taking place. William Buick picking up his prize, his third of the evening, and one more to come for Charlie Appleby. They've got a runner in the sprint, which had not got a great profile, was in the frame in a couple of runs here last year, but he's favourite, and I imagine there'll be a few sort of roll-up multiples going on to that horse in the last. And, of course, they took the last week, which was also a sprint. William Buick has been on board. All 3 victories now, talking to Laura.
That was a super ride, I thought, William. Did it go as you hoped, as you expected?
Yeah, it did, to be honest. I mean, we had a nice draw in one, and look, it just enabled us to not having to do any work, for most part of the race. So we got a nice lead of Courthouse, and he took us far enough, and we got the gap, and Zakuski really dug deep. So no, it was a lovely performance from Zakuski, and the race sort of worked out exactly how we'd hoped it would.
If he goes to the Dubai turf and there's a lot more runners, a stronger pace, would he be all right with that?
I mean, look, that's going to be a different test altogether, isn't it? That's the Dubai turf is, generally it's one of the best races in the world, isn't it, on ratings? So, there's going to be a lot of sort of fancy runners from abroad and from UK, UAE and everywhere. But he might run the Jebel Hatta first and see how he gets on there. But I see no reason why he can't progress again. It's his second run of the campaign over here. So obviously he came on for his first run, and he's going to have a little break now. Then see if we can bring him back for Super Saturday.
Oh, good to hear. I'll let you go. You're in the last. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah, William Buick had a good day. He's in action on Saturday, in fact, a rare Saturday meeting here at Meydan for William Buick. And that's one of 3 remaining fixtures here in the UAE this weekend. Adam Brooks can give you some tips as to what's coming ahead.
We have 7 races in Al Ain to look forward to on Friday evening, with the action kicking off at 5 o'clock. The feature race is the 80,000 dirhams conditions event for the Arabians, and that sees Abdallah Al Hamadi's Os try to win at the track again. This 4-year-old was well put in his place by stablemate Hamim at Abu Dhabi last time, but he could go well again now back at Al Ain. Raji was a winner over 1,800 metres last month. He steps up now to 2,000 and will once again be ridden by the in-form Fernando HORA. The stayers are out in force for the Thoroughbred handicap over 2,600 metres. And Timo was one to consider here. The 8-year-old has form over further than this and bumped into the very smart-looking Pharaoh King last time up. Saturday's local fixture at headquarters looks set to be one of the more exciting variety. Charlie Appleby rarely saddles runners outside of the carnival, but he will run 3 in the feature 1,800 metre turf handicap. Al Maysan is the pick of William Buick, and this Dubawi gelding won a Class 2 handicap at Newmarket in July. He bids to get back to winning ways now after a 6th place run behind Yahayati a couple of weeks ago. Royston French will get the leg up on Eastern World in the same race. This Dubawi half-brother to Thunder Snow was a winner on the Rolly Mile last year and has a nice profile for this race. Adri de Vries and Fauzi Nas could have a successful evening on Saturday. Endifa is top-rated in the opening maiden after a nice showing in 3rd place behind El Patriota in the Al-Bastakia trial. The cutback to a mile should hold no worries for him. Mad Cal looks to hold a strong chance of winning the dirt sprint. The son of Distorted Humour was a winner over 1,400 metres here in December and has been holding his form well since then. Masaba Al-Maheri sends Antonio Vivaldi back on dirt in the 1 mile handicap, but stable jockey Antonio Frazou seemingly prefers the chance of California Jumbo. The 6-year-old was a course and distance winner just over a year ago. The concluding sprint will see the impressive recent winner Moshahir step up to 1,200 metres. Harry Bentley keeps the ride on him for trainer Satish Seemar. Finally, we come to Abu Dhabi's 6th race card on Sunday. The final race of the weekend is a Thoroughbred Maiden over a mile. It's extremely competitive, but Ali Rashid Al Rahi's welcome surprise ran really well in defeat when last seen at Meydan, and his turn doesn't look to be too far away.
Yeah, plenty of competitive racing coming your way then. A 4-meeting weekend, 3 more to come, Al Ain, Meydan and then Abu Dhabi on Sunday. We've got one more race to bring you here tonight, and we can show you the full conditions for it. We're on the turf for the sprint to conclude 1,000 metres for the Emirates Skywards handicap. A relatively narrow handicap band for this, just horses rated 90 to 100. And they're headed by Caspian Prince for Danny Tudhope and Mick Appleby to his Lava Spin. First start on the turf for this one. Tiago Shea rides for Satish Seema. Fanar, one of a couple in there for His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, 3 to be precise. We've then got Mutarafa, Dana O'Neill on board that one. Story of Light, bidding to end a cracking night for Charlie Appleby. He'll break from stall 1, which could be a minor negative. We saw the winners from the sprints emerge high, or the winner from the sprint emerge high last week. Acclaim the Nation, Richie Mullen rides for Michael Atwater. 7 is Motafawit, Sam Hitchcock and Doug Watson. And 8 is Roussel, Elian Chavez. 2 more, Morrowed. 1 of 4, beg your pardon, for His Highness Sheikh Hamdan and Wheels on Fire. Bit of a lopsided handicap this, I thought, Mikey. Probably put a line through the bottom 4 or 5 in the weights in this. They just, first and foremost, don't look in any sort of form, and maybe on the downgrade and not good enough to challenge those towards the head of the weights.
Yeah, I mean the first 6 here are definitely where you're choosing from, and you can make a case for all 6 of those. There's Story of Light is the big question mark. The market's all about him, like they have been with all of.
They've not gone wrong so far.
They've been right with Appleby's strong market features this evening. But, there's horses like Acclaim the Nation, who's a huge price that his best form, like at Ebor last summer, puts him bang there. Puts him really in the mix of this race. What I do find interesting, I know it's a sprint. They're going as fast as they can for as far as they can over a straight 1,000 meters, but there's serious speed in this race. So if you're playing it from a pace scenario, you really want a good stalker who's going to pounce. And to me, that you're looking at 3 in here. You're looking at Fanar, Mutarafa, and Story of Light. Yeah, they're the ones that are likely just to be in that little second wave. Caspian Prince, Lava Spinner are obviously the 2, and Acclaim the Nation that you're referring to as the 3 that will make it. Saying all that, it's not been that easy to make up too much ground in the sprints. I know they have been dominated by very good horses by and large, but you don't want to be getting too far back and riding a race almost, do you? Like you say, it's just a case of going as fast as you can. Yeah, and you want to be following the fastest of those 3. We'll see. The draw will matter even only with 10 horses. I was going to ask, are we going to downplay the draw tonight just with 10? But not in a straight sprint. I feel like it could go one way or the other. If you're a diehard for the outside draw, but then you're not going to like Story of Light at all in this race. In the rail's right in, isn't it, this week? So the stalls are going to be far side. So it's quite a manoeuvre to come over, even from stall 10, more towards this near side, I would say. Yeah. So if they run it like a true rail, and basically I would say the inside will have an advantage at that point. What could become a little bit more interesting to me, at least, is if Story of Light, inexperienced compared to the rest of these, is drawn the rail and they're much faster horses to his right immediately. Do they box him in? Does it become a little tactical that way? Who knows? I mean, either way, nobody's going to be upset if Caspian Prince boxes him in and wins the race. I tend to think personally they're probably going to migrate off the rail and come down the centre and probably arrowhead formation, and basically you're going to want to be following Caspian Prince and Lava Spin, and they're in 2 and 3, and I can imagine that pair just drifting off the rail slightly, and hopefully we aren't talking too much about the draw after the race. And look, last week the best horse probably won anyway. Man of Promise was miles better, but those far side were beaten out of sight, weren't they? Yeah, and Man of Promise had a beautiful trip. He was drawn far outside and he had nothing in his way, and he was no hindrances whatsoever, and he was able to show his true brilliance. This will be interesting. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they actually all shifted right because of the ground's better. I think they probably will. Let's have a look at them then. Caspian Prince leads the parade, and not a lot to say about this horse that hasn't already been said. He's an 18-time competitor here at Meydan, which for an international runner is, I would suggest, almost a record. And he's finished in the first 3 in 7 of those.
He even picked up a check last time when 5th to equilateral, and the fact is here, there's no equilateral, there's no Lazuli, there's no XTR. It's a much weaker race than that, albeit he does have to reverse form with Mutarafa.
He has to prove that he can still win, and the thing is, he did that back in September, so he definitely has the fire still as well as the speed. If the key with him, I think, is how much lava spin bothers him, because lava spin, as you know, is fast, as fast can be. So whether or not he can really go with him early, he might put him to task.
Yeah, he never really got away from them last time, Caspian Prince. We used to see him a length or two clear, and that's when he's really hard to peg back, but that was never the case when 5th to equilateral. We saw Lava Spin there, who's on the turf for the first time, and also turned out fairly quickly after his run behind Canvassed just last week. Fanar, I think, is a horse that Doug Watson's intimated doesn't always try. He's got work to do to reverse form with Mutarafa and others having finished 6th to equilateral, but then he did take a step forward when 2nd in the Jebel Ali Stakes last week, and could just be learning about this sprinting game as well.
Yeah, and he ran a deceptively excellent race in the against Equilateral 2 back. Ran obviously better than Caspian Prince. The market, I'm not sure where it is right now, but I think he was 2nd choice last I looked, behind Story of Light. The only thing I worry about is the quick turn back for him.
Yeah, I'm still not massively convinced he's a genuine sprinter either. He could be the one staying on at the end, but it's whether others have got too far away from him. And with that in mind, I was a bit surprised Jim Crowley didn't opt to ride this horse, Mutarafa, who was out of the weights when 2nd to equilateral last time. But it was just his 4th start in the UAE. It was just his 2nd over 5 furlongs. I think there's scope for this horse to improve still.
Yeah, obviously stepping up 5 kilos is going to be substantial, 12 pounds there, but I think that he'll give a good account of himself. To me, he has to have a little bit more of a killer instinct.
In terms of the comparative weights, he is actually off the same terms here as Caspian Prince, and finished 2 3/4 lengths ahead of him last time. So no real reason on paper why that one should reverse form. But this is a sprint, so in some respects anything could happen. We'll come back to Story of Light and Acclaim the Nation, who he was just flat on his reappearance. For a horse that shows so much speed, he didn't.
He didn't show much at all. And I don't know why. Maybe it was, just an off day off the plane. It either goes farther south at this point, or he improves immediately. He has shown, before that though, he'd shown such consistency and just always a lot of speed, and he loves a flat course. So give him the benefit of the doubt if you're looking for a big price play here.
Yeah, that was only his 2nd start as well, I think, for Michael Atwater, so maybe they are just getting to know him, training regimes, etc. He does, it certainly looks a lot better tonight than he did on his reappearance, where he was maybe a little bit leery in his coat, and just as you say, coming straight off the plane, feeling the effects of an English winter. We saw Mutafawet there, who drops in trip, but yet to really fire since coming to Dubai. Doug Watson has dropped plenty of horses to sprints before, and they've sparked. Can you see that with Mutafawet?
Of the final 4, he's the only one that I can see moving forward, or at least surprising us a little bit. He has a little bit of class to him. He is rated 93. He's not a bad horse. And the drop back, for a son of Intikhab is not a bad idea.
Yeah, he was rated significantly higher when he first arrived, but Doug Watson yet to find the key to him. Maybe the trip will be that. Russell, we just saw there, he was well beaten behind equilateral. That was his first start for 2 years. First start for Mahmoud Hussain as well, but no great reason to believe that he's going to be involved in the finish today. And this is Morrowed, who's another Doug Watson inmate, dropping in trip. He used to be trained by Roger Varian. His only start here came on the dirt, so going to be happier on the turf here.
Yeah, this one is a completely perplexing horse. I have no real opinion on him other than it'll shock me either way.
Yeah. He didn't exactly come to the UAE unexposed. Roger Varian got the best out of him, it would seem on paper, but sprint trips worth exploring. And Wheels on Fire, who I think was thrown in here at the last minute. I didn't notice his name amongst the initial entries. He's had 2 starts here in the UAE, and again, well beaten on both. Not a lot of positives to be said about him, really, is there?
No, he's here for the party, and for the dip. No, I think he'll, it'll it'll remind me to watch Absolutely Fabulous if he wins. But I think that he's just biting off a whole lot more than he can chew, like a lot we've talked about earlier today.
Indeed he is. Used to be trained in Ireland, but not showing any great promise since arriving in the UAE. So there they all are, 10 of them heading down to the start. We didn't talk about the favourite, we probably should. Story of Light, who will be having just his 6th career outing. On the face of it, on paper, there's not a massive amount to get excited about. His 2 starts here last year were behind Platinum Star and Bella Fever. Particularly the latter form didn't work out subsequently, but he's just got that scope for improvement, hasn't he?
He does, and his run against Bella Fever, going 1,400 or 7 furlongs, was a couple that with his run over 1,200 when he won at Chelmsford, he just looks like a 6 furlong sprinter. Like and even his build, there's not much to him.
Yeah.
And Dark Angel out of Exceed and Excel is just speed on speed on any surface. So I seeing him cut back. He looks like he's in the optimal spot. Williams on, like he didn't have a choice. But they haven't done anything wrong here, and I think he's other than Secret Protector, is the only out and out horse I chose here. But just because I feel like they've picked the right spot for him, and it's kind of a
process of elimination, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a weak spot for him. He's going to jump in, and if he doesn't get it here, then what are they going to do with him?
It certainly is. Well, he knows he's going to be in a race if he's up against Caspian Prince, and we can find out more about the old boy now with Laura.
We can indeed, from Andy Yoxall, who's representing Mick Appleby. This is just a fantastic horse, and he's got a little chance tonight.
I think he has, yeah. When you go through the farm, he seems to be the only genuine 5 furlong horse. The others have got a bit of question marks over the trip. So hopefully he can make use of his early speed and hang on at the end. It'll be lovely for the old boy.
It would be brilliant. And what's he like to deal with on a day-to-day basis? Because he seems to give everything in his races.
Yeah, he's an old legend. We switch it up a bit out here. He loves his swimming, so we're swimming quite a lot. And we don't overdo him, which is probably why his career stretched so far. But yeah, he's just a gen. He's a genuine pleasure to have anything to do with.
And he's just been an absolute star. It would mean a lot to you, were he to win again tonight?
It mean a lot for everybody, yeah. I mean, the whole yard would be back home supporting him. It's probably not just the yard. I'm sure he's got a massive following back home, and I think he put a smile on a lot of people's face if he went and won tonight, yeah.
Can't say it better than that. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, we wish them all the best with Caspian Prince, who I think we're pretty much guaranteed. We know he's going to give his running, really, don't we? He does it year in, year out here in Dubai. I think it's his 5th or 6th carnival, or something ridiculous like that. It will be career start number 108. And I think there'll be many people cheering him on. And we know the tactics. He's going to be out there in front and proving hard to catch. And not inconceivable, it happens. Danny Tudhope, I'm pretty sure, has never ridden him before. But a new partner for an old boy can sometimes spark something as well. But not that there's a great deal needs to be sparked. Just going back to Story of Light briefly, I mean, there may have been an issue with him, but if Charlie felt there was scope off his mark of 96 back in the UK, probably would have taken him back. Maybe use that as a bit of a negative against him, but then again, coming up against plenty of exposed horses here.
Yeah, to me, the real reason I kind of backed him here is that it looks like a spot where they're trying to build his confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably didn't expect, Caspian Prince in there. But still, like, it looks like a spot for him to... He's not quite what the horse was last week.
No, I don't think so.
Man of Promise. But he does have a lot of promise of his own. And he's trying to get his confidence back. We'll see.
It will also be his first start over 5 furlongs. This is his run last year in the Meydan Classic Trial, over 1,400. I mean, he's out in front.
He's such a sprinter. Look at that action.
Yeah. So on that, it doesn't always work that you're in front 2 furlongs out, you're going to handle 5 furlongs, but he's shown the speed to be prominent in this, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he just folds. I think, is that Final Song to his inside?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So she's a quality filly.
Yeah.
Bella Fever's a quality filly. I mean, I think the rest of them in that race are kind of duds, but, I think the top 3 prove themselves to be decent horses, hopefully, out of this race.
He's getting himself a little bit worked up. He's a gelding, but obviously takes a bit of managing.
Well, hopefully he calms down a little bit. Dark Angels can get a little hot.
He's got the hood on, which will be taken off for Stall's entry. Is it simple enough as another Godolphin winner here, Laura? We're trying to pick holes in him.
No, I don't think so. I think we're all getting a little bit carried away because of Man of Promise last time. Slightly different profile as you've covered. Had a bit of a quick word with Doug Watson. Fanar is just bouncing, he said, after his run last week. Hence he's running him. He's quite keen that he'll run a big race. And he also spoke quite highly of Motofawit, of a horse that he holds in a bit of regard. So he could just be one to watch at a much bigger price. But with Fanar, he said he was just delighted to see that good run from him last week. I don't think he's the easiest horse to train. He may not always put his best in, but he said he was just, they took him out the box and trod him up and he was bucking and kicking, and they thought, yep, absolutely, you're going again. And I think he's got a plan maybe to step him up in trip as well and take in a 1,200 metre race. This is his run a couple of starts ago, and Caspian Prince in here as well, of course.
Yeah, he's run since, obviously, in the blinkers in sixth there. He just doesn't lay a glove on them, really. Mutarafa's the one that showed pace and stayed there, so he's going to be up there again. But I think with a horse who is seemingly tricky like Fanar, if he's showing this sort of form, you do tend to try and want to run them every week, every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, this is, he's just trying to get the most out of what he's got right now, and he's just still on a fact-finding mission with Fanar to see whether or not, he is a quality sprinter, if he's going to stretch out to a mile eventually. Like, what are they going to do with him? But he seems to be of some substance. So that's where they're sticking with it right now. I'm rooting a little bit, even though I did not go anywhere near tipping him online, but I want Lava Spin to run well in this race. I would love to see him show like all that speed he shows on the dirt in those first few furlongs on the grass and see him do well out here. It'll be a really fun race to watch if that unfolds.
Well, there's definitely been excuses for him the last twice. He's had wide draws to try and overcome and not been able to. So he's, for all the form figures look regressive, 1/3, 5th, he probably does remain in very good form, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's he has all the claims here. It's just he's not getting a lot of support in the market. Acclaim the Nation, speaking of claims, he's not getting any support in the market, and I feel like he's probably your best value each way in here.
Certainly needs to show a bit more spark than he did on his reappearance. Final thoughts, Laura?
I'm with Mutarafa. My only concern is that he was getting loads of weight off equilateral last time, but I still think he's an improving sprinter. He's drawn in the same place as last time. I think he'll put it up to them. It's a good race. I'm looking forward to it. Not being a Godolphin winner this time, I'm happy to take on Story of Light. Could look silly in about a minute.
Good. Well, Mutarafa does have scope, but so, and perhaps more so, does Story of Light. Can he finish a very good night for Godolphin? Make it 4 for Charlie Appleby. Let's find out with Craig Evans, beg your pardon.
Up. Now, 8 live tickets in the online pick 6. I can tell you 6 of those tickets have selected Story of Light. 1 has Fanar and 1 has Acclaim the Nation here in the last. So if any one of those 3 horses win, we'll have at least 1 winner. And if Story of Light, who goes up now, goes in, it will be multiple. Now they're set for the last. Gates go back and they're racing, and Caspian Prince fired away very quickly once again. Acclaim the Nation better out of the stalls this time, goes forward as well. Wheels on Fire's right there, and also Story of Light on the inside. Getting a little keen Mutarafa between horses. Out wider is Roussel. They were followed next by Fanar. The red cap of Motofawit and Lava Spin was back with the tail enders. They come through halfway, and Caspian Prince, the 12-year-old, shows the way at the 450. Up on the inside, Mutarafa coming after it now, followed by Fanar coming off the bit. Story of Light being chased along. Out wider, Motofawit comes into it as well. The front runner, Caspian Prince, but Mutarafa coming hard on the inside. And wider, Motofawit is powering home with a shadow roll. It's gone to the front here, Motofawit on the outside. Mutarafa tries to match it in the late stages, but Motofawit for Sam Hitchcock dashes away for a big win. Motofawit opens up, wins by 2.5. Second, Mutarafa, then Caspian Prince, Fanar. Lava Spin finished quite well. Next in, Story of Light. They were followed by Wheels on Fire, then Roussel. Just ahead of that was Fanar, along with Acclaim the Nation, who's going to finish well back in the field. Stand by after the running here of race number 6. But the win will go the way of Motofawit, who's come with a strong run out in the middle, and will win clear of Mutarafa in the late stages. Then Caspian Prince and Fanar. Caspian Prince again showed plenty of speed. Mutarafa got to it And then we have the red-capped Motor Farwit dashing home for Sam Hitchcott and Doug Watson, bringing up the victory here in the final race. The equivalent race last year on this night was won by Wadi, also for Doug Watson. Jim Crowley was aboard on that occasion. So Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum winning this 1,000-metre race on this particular night for 2 years in a row. Waiting for all the details to come up on the final race of the evening.
I think you said that Motofawet was very much the live one from the bottom 5 in the weights, and he's absolutely bolted up there, hasn't he? Very impressive.
This is exactly what he wanted, apparently. Reminded me a little bit of XTR there in the way he ran. He had a nice pace going on and just kind of stalked and just had a second gear that the others did not.
Well, it was his first try at 5 furlongs, just his sixth start here in the UAE. It had been a blank score sheet hitherto, but Doug Watson's pulled out similar irons from the fire in the sprinting division, and he's the next cab off the ranks, the Inter cab off the ranks.
Yeah, very good. He's exciting, isn't he? Very lightly raced, had run okay, actually, with the benefit of hindsight in the President's Cup at Abu Dhabi, sorry, the National Day Cup at Abu Dhabi over the mile. He only finished 6.5 lengths behind Borum, but with the lovely plain wide expanse of Meydan here, the first time he'd seen this straight course, he's gone and done this very, very nicely indeed. OK, he was getting a bit of weight off some of them, but still he's been very dominant. 2.5 length win over Mutarafa, who surely will have his day, and a great result for His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, because he's had first, second and fourth there, Fanal finishing fourth and Caspian Prince third. Perhaps Caspian Prince didn't even look like he wasn't going as fast as usual.
Yeah, well, I said that about him on his reappearance, and they've not blasted out and gone as hard as they can. Well, I presume not as hard as they can. Maybe that is as fast as he can, but yeah, he usually gives at least a length or two to the rest of the field, but they always seem to be laying on terms with him today. I don't know how significant this one would be, Mikey, but stall 10 again. He's come more towards the centre than anything else, the winner here.
Yeah, I don't think there was any better ground or any kind of like sort of minor excuse for the others. He just bolted up and handed them their hind ends at the end, and it was he's just the best horse in the race. Story of Light just ran a dud.
Yeah,
had every
he was
shot
flat, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, maybe really no excuse, because you thought that he would start going about the 450, sort of niggling at him. He had no response, and he just might not be that good. That's all.
Yep, exactly. The fact that he'd not been back to the UK and at least tried his hand in a handicap off 96, maybe the alarm bells should have been ringing a bit louder than they were beforehand. But it's been hard to oppose anything of Charlie Appleby's this season. So maybe that was why we're a little bit lukewarm about trying to find something else to beat him. But Mutafawet has done it in no uncertain terms. As Laura said, another good run from Motarafa. He's been up there and probably run to about the same as he did when beating Caspian Prince last time. He was 3 lengths ahead of him today. He was 2 3/4 lengths ahead of him the last day. So that pair have run to the mark.
I mean, a lot of these horses that have run today, they're in the 90 range. They're all trying to get to 100 so they can get into the Nat Al Shiba Turf Sprint on Super Saturday. And whether or not he's gained those 4 pounds, we do not. I mean, it's hard to say.
He might have done beating Caspian Prince 3 lengths into third.
Yeah,
they might.
He might have even surpassed it. To be honest, I would say I would probably put him anywhere between a 99 and a 101.
Yeah, let's look at the start again then. And Caspian Prince has led, and Story of Light has shown that early speed to Leyhandy. William Buick seems reasonably intent on trying to pull him back. Maybe he's actually gone a bit too fresh in front. Story of Light. He
came out on par with Caspian Prince, which is usually a sign that you're going too fast. And then he was. I think he spit his race in the first quarter mile here. Lava Spin did not like the surface at all. It looks like. He was sort of taken aback by how quickly they came out, I think.
And having said that sprinters have struggled to make up too much ground, Mutafawet has come from kind of the back 3 or 4 early. Wheels on Fire ran okay to a point. He stops there. But in truth, the race was done and dusted from here on in, wasn't it? Well, I think Lava Spinner's gradually warmed to his task in the end. He's finished 6th. I mean, he's well beaten, but he's maybe 1,200 metres on the turf. Who knows?
This horse... he came in at 93, Motafawet the winner. Where he goes from here will be interesting. Do they give him the whole 7 pounds?
I think they will.
Him in?
Yeah, I think they justifiably can. Yeah.
I mean, because watching him, he reminds me a whole lot, like I said before, but XTR is a 6 furlong horse. This is a 5 furlong race, totally different. But just the way he finished and the way he attacked them at about the furlong and a half.
Yeah.
You love to see that. And Doug is so good with these types.
Yeah, I think winning by 2.5 lengths over this trip, he's going to go up 7 or 8 pounds comfortably for winning this. So he'll definitely be in the Super Saturday, should they wish to go that route.
They should.
Why not? Yeah, indeed. He's, I suppose, not too many similarities to be drawn age-wise with Wadi, who really thrived on the turf last year for Doug Watson, but could just be that they have stumbled across a horse who can maybe win again if given the right opportunity.
He's sort of stacking the barn with these quality turf sprinters for Sheikhandan. For His Highness Sheikhandan, he has XTR, he has Fanar, who's on the rise, he has Mutafawid. We just last year had
Wadi.
Yeah, he has Wadi in there. He's probably the best of them all.
Yeah.
At least at 5 furlongs.
But also a victim as well, then, that there aren't too many grass races for these horses, particularly pre-New Year. There are no options whatsoever, so has to make the best of what he can. But this horse has made an impressive first fist of the minimum trip, winning this finale comfortably in the hands of Sam Hitchcott, winning for Doug Watson there in the red cap. And... in a wide-ish margin win, probably the biggest margin we've seen a sprinter win by so far this season. So that's the finale done and dusted. I mean, a decent night and a local winner to finish things off.
I do like when they finish with these dashes down the chute.
The replays are quick to watch and we can go. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. That's true. At least they don't run the 1.5 mile race at last. But it's just exciting. It's a nice way to end the evening when they're dashing in front of you. It's the closest you get to the horses. So, you end it with a rush.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Exactly. Well, we can show you the full list of tonight's winners. Right back at the start of the card, RB Money to Burn, back on song. She won the Matter at Al Rawaya in the hands of Tiger O'Shea for Eric Lamartinelle. Then it was the start of the William Buick / Charlie Appleby show. Star Safari kicking things off before Secret Protector was the easiest winner of the night. Salute the Soldier won the Mactoon Challenge Round 2, the official feature for Adre de Vries, giving a very cool ride, trekking Capizano before taking things up around about 2 furlongs out and having enough in reserve to stave off the closers, which included the Great Collection. We then saw Zakuski, again another good ride, William Buick close to the pace in that Al Rashidiyah, and he had too much for Courthouse, and indeed Lord Glitters, who ran well in third, certainly lost nothing in defeat under his 1.5 kilo penalty, and as we've just seen, Motofawit very impressive. At the end there, we said at the start of the show we might find 1 or 2 World Cup night clues. I wouldn't be massively convinced we've seen a Dubai World Cup night winner on tonight's card.
Not at all. But a lot of that for me has to do with what the Japanese bring here. And what we have to turn up at that point. And we still may not have seen the best of Godolphin.
I was going to say, the scary thing is that Charlie Appleby's probably got a yard full of horses that can be better than Zakuski and Star Safari. Without any disrespect to them.
Secret Protector really stands out, even though his time was the same as Yahayatsi's last year.
Yeah.
And we know what he is. He really stood out, just the way the race unfolded and how confidently he was ridden.
Yeah.
He could be a proper, forget the name of the race, but the mile and a quarter Group 3 at Royal Ascot seems like a perfect goal for him, if he's that good.
Tercentenary, I think it's called. Tercentenary, is it called now?
It used to be called that. I think
it's maybe changed now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's which is always a great race for rising stars or falling ones.
Yeah.
But I do think that the round 2 tonight we saw, as far as conceptualizing the World Cup, we saw a horse in Salute the Soldier who deserves to be in the World Cup, who may not be good enough to win it, but he deserves to be there, and he tries so hard that you always want a horse that delivers his best every time to earn his way in, and he did. So,
and always good to see local representation in the Dubai World Cup. So maybe they'll go there with Fawzi Nas. But that's it for tonight's action here from Meydan. We'll be back live here on Saturday at 5 o'clock. We've also got action from Alain tomorrow. Do join us then. It's a good night for now.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سيداتي أنساتي سادتي، عاطف شوقي يحييكم ويسعدنا أن نلتقي وحضراتكم وفعاليات بطولة الشرق الدولية فئة النجمتين المؤهلة إلى كأس العالم، والتي تقام خلال يومي 5 و6 فبراير بتوجيهات كريمة من صاحب السمو الشيخ الدكتور سلطان بن محمد القاسمي عضو المجلس الأعلى حاكم الشارقة، بدعم ورعاية أنشطة الفروسية وتحت رعاية كريمة من سمو الشيخ سلطان بن محمد بن سلطان القاسمي ولي العهد. بنبدأ فعاليات هذه البطولة بشوط مخصص للخيول ذات ال6 سنوات صغيرة السن و7 سنوات. لدينا 7 فرسان مشاركين من أصحاب الخيول ال6 سنوات، ثم بيتم ارتفاع الحواجز ل 130 للخيول أصحاب ال7 سنوات. أول فرسان المشاركين شامبرين من أيرلندا على Z7 دبي. المضمار مكون البطولة أو الشوط اللي بنتابعه مع حضراتكم، وهن ندي أو نقدم الوصف التفصيلي والتحليل الفني لخط سير الكورس. كورس من مرحلتين، الفارس اللي بينهي المرحلة الأولى بدون أخطاء وفي الزمن المحدد بيكمل على المرحلة الثانية. بتتكون المرحلة الأولى من 5 حواجز ضمنهم حاجز مركب ثنائي، واللي بينهي بدون أخطاء بينتقل بالقفز إلى باقي الحواجز. إجمالي الحواجز في المرحلة الأولى والثانية 11 حاجز. يتجه الفارس الآن إلى الحاجز العاشر، ثم إلى آخر حواجز المضمار، وبينهي بدون نقط جزاء وفي زمن 41 ثانية و14 من 100. نتابع مع حضراتكم الفارس الثاني. شامبرين بدون أخطاء وفي 41 ثانية 14 من 100. هذا النوع من المنافسات بيتكون المرحلة الأولى بحد أدنى 5 حواجز وحد أقصى 7 حواجز، وأيضا إجمالي الحواجز في المرحلتين لا الحد الأدنى 11 حاجز والحد الأقصى 13 حاجز. الفارس التالي من سوريا أسامة زبيبي، بيستعد